Hey, I'm Daniel, and the day I saw my ex-wife walking toward me after 7 years, holding the hand of a little girl with eyes that looked painfully familiar, I realized some goodbyes are never truly the end. For years I had convinced myself that my past belonged exactly where it was, behind me. I had learned to wake before dawn, unlock the doors of my little neighborhood bakery, and lose myself in the comforting rhythm of flour, butter, and warm bread. The smell of fresh pastries became my therapy. Every loaf I baked reminded me that broken things could still become something beautiful. People in town knew me as the quiet baker who always smiled, but none of them knew how many nights I spent staring at the ceiling, wondering whether I could have done something differently. My marriage had ended without screaming matches or betrayal. It had simply collapsed under the unbearable weight of grief after we lost our unborn child. My wife, Emma, disappeared from my life shortly after the divorce, leaving nothing behind except a signed document and memories I couldn't throw away. Time did what everyone promised it would do. It didn't erase the pain, but it softened its edges. I stopped expecting to see Emma in every crowd. I stopped reaching for my phone on difficult days, forgetting there was no one left to call. I accepted that some people are only meant to walk beside you for part of your journey. That acceptance became my peace. Then, on an ordinary rainy afternoon, everything changed. I was wiping the front window of the bakery when I noticed a woman standing across the street. She wore a simple beige coat, her dark hair tied back the same way she used to wear it. Beside her stood a little girl, perhaps 6 years old, holding her hand tightly. At first I thought my mind was playing another cruel trick. But when the woman looked up, our eyes met, and the years between us disappeared in an instant. Emma. She hesitated before crossing the street. Every step she took toward the bakery seemed heavier than the last. The little girl looked around curiously, smiling at the colorful pastries displayed in the window. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear the rain tapping against the glass. When Emma reached the door, she paused for a long moment before stepping inside. She looked older, not because of wrinkles, but because life had clearly asked more from her than anyone should have to give. The warmth of the bakery surrounded us, yet neither of us seemed able to breathe. The little girl wandered toward the pastry display, her eyes sparkling with innocent excitement. She reminded me of the happiness I had once imagined filling my own home. Watching her laugh quietly at the sight of a chocolate cake stirred something deep inside me that I thought had long since disappeared. Emma's eyes filled with tears before she even spoke. She explained that after our divorce, she had left because staying in town meant reliving the loss of our baby every single day. Every street reminded her of the dreams we had buried together. She believed leaving was the only way to survive. She carried guilt that she could never explain, convinced that I deserved a chance to rebuild my life without carrying the weight of her endless sorrow. Life, however, had other plans. A year after leaving, Emma met a woman named Grace at a volunteer center. Grace was raising her young daughter alone while battling a serious illness. Despite her own struggles, Grace spent her time helping families in need. Emma admired her strength and began spending more time with them, becoming almost like family. But fate was cruel once again. Grace's illness worsened quickly. Before she passed away, she asked Emma to promise that her daughter, Lily, would never grow up believing she had been abandoned. Emma made that promise with all her heart. After months of legal proceedings, she officially adopted Lily, dedicating her life to giving the little girl the loving home Grace had dreamed of. Emma smiled gently as she watched Lily examine the pastries with wide-eyed wonder. She admitted that for years she wanted to contact me but felt ashamed. She believed I had finally found happiness and feared reopening old wounds. But as Lily grew older, she constantly asked why other children had fathers while she only had a mother. Emma realized that Lily deserved more than survival. She deserved stability, kindness, and someone who could teach her that love was still worth believing in. Emma didn't come back asking for forgiveness. She didn't come asking to restart our marriage. She came because she believed I was still the kindest man she had ever known. Her words left me speechless. For 7 years I had imagined countless reasons why she might return, but none of them looked like this. Standing beside her was not a secret daughter or a hidden betrayal. It was an innocent child whose entire future depended on adults choosing compassion over pride. Lily eventually walked over holding a small cinnamon roll I had quietly placed on the counter. She thanked me with the brightest smile I had seen in years. There was something extraordinary about the way children trust kindness before they understand pain. In that single smile, the bitterness I had carried for so long began to melt away. Over the following weeks, Emma and Lily visited the bakery often. Sometimes they came for breakfast before school. Sometimes Lily helped arrange cookies in the display case, proudly announcing herself as my assistant. The regular customers adored her cheerful personality, and for the first time in years, laughter filled every corner of the bakery. Slowly, I found myself looking forward to each new morning. Not because the past had disappeared, but because the future no longer felt empty. One evening, Lily handed me a drawing she had made at school. It showed 3 people standing in front of a little bakery beneath a bright blue sky. Above the picture, written in careful, uneven handwriting, were the words, "My favorite family." I stared at the drawing for a long time. No one had asked her to draw it. No one had suggested those words. To her, family wasn't defined by blood or perfect histories. Family was simply the place where people chose to stay. That realization broke something inside me, in the best possible way. Emma confessed she still blamed herself for everything that had happened between us. She believed grief had stolen not only our child but also our marriage. I finally admitted something I had hidden for years. I blamed myself too. I thought I hadn't been strong enough to carry both our pain. We had spent 7 years punishing ourselves separately for the same tragedy. Neither of us had been the villain. We had simply been 2 broken people trying to survive unbearable loss. Healing didn't happen overnight. Trust wasn't magically restored. There were awkward conversations, tears, difficult memories, and moments when old fears returned without warning. But this time, instead of running away, we stayed. We listened. We forgave. Most importantly, we allowed ourselves to believe that life could still surprise us with unexpected grace. Months later, the bakery celebrated its 10th anniversary. The entire town gathered outside. Children played with balloons while neighbors shared stories over coffee and warm bread. As I looked around, I realized something extraordinary. The bakery I had built to escape loneliness had quietly become a place where people found hope. Emma stood beside me, smiling through happy tears. Lily ran toward us carrying another drawing. This one showed 3 hands holding each other beneath a simple sentence. "Love finds its way home." Looking at that picture, I finally understood something that had taken me years to learn. Life rarely gives us the ending we imagine. Sometimes it takes away the future we planned so it can gently lead us toward one we never expected. The deepest wounds may leave scars, but those scars remind us not only of what we lost, they remind us that we survived. If someone had told me 7 years earlier that the greatest blessing of my life would arrive holding the hand of the woman I thought I'd never see again, I never would have believed them. Yet there we were. Not because life had erased our heartbreak, but because love had quietly grown in the empty spaces we thought would remain broken forever. Every morning now, when I unlock the bakery doors before sunrise, I hear Lily's laughter echo through the kitchen as she tries to decorate cookies that somehow end up covered in more frosting than anyone thought possible. Emma teases her, I pretend to complain, and together we create ordinary moments that feel more precious than anything money could buy. I've learned that second chances don't always look like returning to the past. Sometimes they arrive disguised as a child holding someone's hand, asking nothing more than to be loved. And if you open your heart instead of your old wounds, you may discover that the family you thought you lost is not the family waiting for you. It's an even stronger one, built not only by fate, but by forgiveness, courage, and the quiet decision to love again.